this is a traditional snack in Italy, something called a libretto, or libretti if you're making more than one, and it translates to little book. And it means a little pizza, actually. And to make them, you want to start out by making a yeast dough. Everyone's been to the opera, haven't they? And that's what you get when you go to the opera, a libretto, a little book. So start out with about 5½ to 6 cups of flour, and you can either do this in a bowl or you can be brave and do it in a fontana. And I've given it a little bit of salt. And then, with this, we want, about 2 cups of warm water and a 1/4 cup of yeast, or a 1/4 cup of water in which we've dissolved a tablespoon of yeast. Now this dough, we're going to let rise, for about an hour and a half, just until it's double in size, really, and then we're going to be able to cut this dough up and really get about 16 libretti out of this. So I want a nice soft dough. I don't want a hard dough that's going to be difficult to roll. And I think that's just about enough flour. So push all the excess out of the way now. And if you don't have a dough scraper, well, you got to get one, because that certainly helps to make this job easy. Then you put a little bit of olive oil in a bowl, just like that. See? Just about a teaspoon. And work it around. And then take your dough and wipe the bowl with it. Then turn it over and cover it with some plastic wrap. Really cover it well. And then put it off to the side. So off goes mine. And now what you want to do is punch that dough down. So punch it down. You see how nice and soft that is. And you want to work with that on a floured surface. So let me get it out and cut that in half. So we're only going to work with a half at a time. And we'll set this one aside. So now, before we cut those, we want to get our flavoring ready for that dough. And I'm going to start out with those peppers I told you about. Now here I want you to really pay attention, because you're working with hot pepper, especially if you're working with fresh hot pepper, you have to be very, very careful. And here are some, you see? There's some fresh, here's some jalapeno peppers, and here is some hot red pepper. These are peppers that I brought home from Gallipoli when I was there just recently, and these are peppers that I brought home from Florence. And believe me, the little sign next to these said, "Trip to hell," and that was certainly the truth, because one of those really packs a punch. So you can use either dried or you can use fresh. If you're using dried, well then you want to put them in something that you can crush them up in. And here I'm just crushing some of them up in a little mortar with a pestle. So if you don't have access to fresh, you can always use the dried pepper. So that's the red dried. Then, if you're working with fresh, remember you want to be real, real careful with this. You don't want to touch your eyes when you're working with jalapeno peppers, for instance. So cut them up. I'm going to use just one for this recipe, because one is all you really need. And I kind of like the red and green color together of the peppers. And here's a red one. And take the stem off of that, put that aside. Remember now, don't touch your eyes, or make sure you wash your hands after you're done working with these. And I'm going to cut those small, and then cut them even smaller. So get them chopped up. And you see how pretty that looks together, kind of reminds you of the Italian flag. Then cut them up a little smaller. And now this is going to flavor my olive oil. So I want to get about 3 tablespoons of olive oil going in a pan. See how pretty that looks? And I can also add some of those zingers. So here's my saute pan, my frying pan rather. And we'll put about 3 tablespoons of olive oil in this. This isn't going to take very long at all. You just want to really flavor this olive oil. And put the peppers in. In they go. And with that, the trip to hell peppers, they go in. And believe me, that is very, very hot. So now that we have that out of the way, let me talk to you about olives, because this is also going to go on our pizza. And here I have the black oil-cured olives and green olives that are also in olive oil. And those we want to cut up on a little tray. There are our olives. Those can go right in here. So in they go. Now I can get rid of this board and work with the dough. So now, let me just clean up one more time so I have a nice clean spot to roll out for you. So now, again, we're working on a floured surface, and I think my oil and peppers should be ready. So now, you see what we have here is just a very slight flavoring of that. We can roll this out now. So working with half the dough, spread more flour on the board, and then with a rolling pin, roll it out. You put on half. We'll save some of that for the other one. You're only using half of this. So spread this out onto your dough. Doesn't that look pretty just the way it is? We could make a pizza just out of this. Then you roll this up like a jelly roll. You see? Just like that. Get it all rolled up. And now what you have to do is actually bring all of those ingredients through the dough. So you really want to work it. Work it until all of that pops right through the dough. And I think this is just a great way to flavor this. Then you cut this up into small pieces. You can get about 8 or 9 out of each piece. Then after you do that, you put more flour down. You see? Put more flour down, and you kind of play with this, and you want to get it into, a rustic round. And then you roll it out, to about 5 inches or so. And then you put it on a bake sheet, and I have some already on a bake sheet for you, and put a little bit of that olive mixture right over the top, just like that. Oh, I'll just bet that this is going to be on Emilio's menu. And then if you wanted to, just a little bit of olive oil goes on. Then, after those have risen about 15 or 20 minutes, they go into the oven for about 15 minutes.